Hey everybody, Brian here. I want to apologize. I actually meant to get this out a couple days ago, but couldn't. Anyway, so I'm doing an update on my DDD deck profile. I took this to locals over the weekend, took first place with it. Just stormed over Monarchs pretty much the whole tournament. It was 3 to 4 rounds I played. Anyway, here's the profile. Did really good. There's one change I might make, and I'll get to that when I get to it. Anyway, starts 3 copies of Kepler. Searcher, awesome. 3 copies of Leonidas. I still think Leonidas is great. He's like such a wonderful top deck because you top deck him like after your dark gets destroyed, and he can just put you right back into the game immediately. He's level 7, so you can overlay him. He's actually a really good card. I really like him. So I know people like to down on him. 3 copies of Ragnarok, who's probably the best monster in the deck. Just special summon other monsters all over the place. 3 copies of DD Swirl Slime, Polymerization. 3 copies of Necro Slime. So the reason that I'm now playing 3 Necro Slime, I'm not playing the Galley anymore. I went with 3 Necro Slime because I'm using a lot of discarding stuff, like with Twin Twister and the Witch, the Dark Construct of the Witch, the 1-for-1. I mean, there's just plenty of ways to discard in this deck. So 3 Necro Slime, I ended up just adding to the consistency for me. It was really nice. 2 copies of Baphomet. Helps you go into your rank 4 or your Caliuga sometimes. 2 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior, who's absolutely amazing. He's a defense card for all the fiends, which, you know, the entire deck is pretty much fiends. At least anything you'll summon, with the exception of maybe some Xyz monsters. And then when he's destroyed, you get to basically Foolish Burial a fiend into your graveyard, which you can throw a Necro Slime or a Swirl Slime or. So there's just tons of choices. Sometimes you throw your Pendulum monsters in there to bring back Pendulum Reborn, which I still run. Spoilers. So yeah, he's awesome. 2 copies of Max C. This is the one change I might make in the deck. I might switch this up to 2 copies of Valor. I think that really depends on the meta game you're playing in. I just played against so many Monarchs over the weekend that I ended up switching this out pretty much every game too for Valors. So for me, I think Valors might be a little bit better, but in a lot of places I think Max C would be better, so that's why I was maining Max C. 3 copies of Dark Contract with the Gate. More searching. 1 copy of Dark Contract with the Swamp King. I don't really think you need more than 2, because most of the time all you use it for is to go into Caesar Ragnarok. You won't really use it for Dark because you have the slimes for that. So it's still really good though, and can, you know, and it's a game ender kind of card. You only really need 1 though. 2 copies of Chicken Game. I still really like Chicken Game because it can stop you from burning to your Dark Contracts, which is really nice. You can also get +1s every turn because, yeah, your opponent is gonna get a draw out of it, but they're gonna lower their life points too, and it is what it says it is. You know, you're playing chicken with your opponent. How much, you know, if they're gonna leave it on board, that means they're gonna expect you to be able to draw too. So it goes back and forth, and I like it because it's a balanced card in that way. But the aspect of not being able to burn to death is really advantageous, so that's why I like it. 2 copies of Twin Twisters. Great card. Destroys Pendulum decks. Can, you know, it's the New Age MST. And you got plenty to discard in this deck, so it's pretty good. 1 copy of Allure of Darkness for draw power. 1 copy of 1 for 1 to get Kepler. 1 copy of Raigeki, because apparently Raigeki's good if you hadn't heard. Huh. 1 copy of Burial from the Different Dimension. Really good in this deck. Between the Swamp Kings and Banishing Swirl Slimes for their effects to special summon things out like Ragnarok, or banishing cards with Necro Slime. Burial from the Different Dimension, I always have opportunities to use it. It just extends combos and gives you an opportunity to come back and do things that, because maybe you need to get another Swirl Slime into the graveyard so you can special summon out of the hand again, or put more fusion fodder into the graveyard so you can fuse out another monster. Whatever it is, Burial's great. 2 copies of Contract with the Witch. Spot removal gives you an extra 1,000 attack points during your opponent's turn, so that's wonderful. 1 copy of Dark Contract with Errors. I scaled this back just because I'm not playing the Floodgate build I was playing before, but you could totally still run the Floodgate build. That build's still pretty good, but I just decided to go with a more aggro build this time. 2 copies of Pendulum Reborn. Pendulum Reborn is amazing in this deck because Kepler is a level 1 monster that can't be Pendulum summoned back, but you can totally Pendulum Reborn him back, and that lets you search. Or you can Pendulum Reborn the Ragnarok back, which will give you a special summon. Or you can Pendulum Reborn the if you're in your standby phase and you have the Pendulum Reborn face down, like your Dark Contract activates to burn you, you can chain the Pendulum Reborn, bring back a Leonidas, and all of a sudden you take no burn damage. Like, that's just awesome. So yeah, no shortage of good targets for Pendulum Reborn, especially because you don't really Pendulum summon in this deck. It's, they might go to the graveyard, whatever. Anyway, really good. 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness, because it's Vanity's, and 1 copy of Warning, because Warning's really good. Like to negate summons. 3 copies into the extra deck of Dark, Oracle King Dark. Turns all the burn damage into life point gain. I really, it almost makes me laugh when people activate Wavering Eyes and I gain 500. I actually had a game over the weekend where my opponent Wavering Eyed, and I ended up gaining 500, and when it all came down to the end of their turn, it was that 500 that had ended up keeping me alive, and I ended up turning the game around on my next turn and winning. Just because I was able to gain 500 life. And so 500 can be the difference maker. 2 copies of Caesar Ragnarok. The Cosmo Killer. He's wonderful. He's such a boss monster. 1 copy of King Caliuga. Nuking back rows like Heavy Storm. 1 copy of Caesar. 1 copy of Marksman King Tell. 1 copy of Castell. 1 copy of Dweller. 1 copy of Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, which I'll go into a lot because I can do a lot of damage and then just drop a Red Eyes Flare and all I gotta do is like 1,000 damage. So, alright. You got 1 guaranteed card activation. Hopefully you can use it to stop my flare. If not, GG. 1 Draco Sack. Copy of Big Eye. Copy of Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand. And 1 copy of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. I actually might switch this out. This was just kind of a, for fun thing. But now that I'm not running Galilei either, it's not nearly as good. Like, it wasn't even that good to begin with. But you can technically overlay 2 copies of Wave King Caesar Ragnarok and, burn them for 2,000, which is probably game if you're doing it with 2 Ragnaroks because you just probably smacked them in the face for like 5k. I'm going to do my side deck here. Otherwise, that's profile. But if you want to stick around for the side deck, then you can. Otherwise, thanks for watching. 1 copy of Skill Drain. 2 copies of Chaos Trapple, 2 copies of Chalice, 2 copy of Rivalry of Warlords. This went in quite a bit. 2 copies of Iron Wall, which, okay, so people think that this is bad. Like, I've been watching other profiles, and people think that Iron Wall is a bad side deck card for DDDs. And if you do want to go the other route, you can always play the Artifact card that lets you discard, and no more cards can be banished for the rest of the turn. So then when it comes back around to your turn, you can banish your cards again. But the thing is, you already have that ability, because if you want to play Iron Wall, all you have to do is search out Dark Contract with Errors. And since you have Errors on board, you can turn off the Iron Wall during your turn, banish, special summon all you want, and then during your opponent's turn, you don't activate the Contract to Errors, and the Iron Wall becomes active again, just like the Vandy's Emptiness would, and you lock them down with a Floodgate, same way you would with Emptiness. 2 copies of Masquerade Check. So this went into my deck a lot over the weekend, mostly because I played against a lot of Monarch decks, and it put in so much work. Like, basically, if you put Masquerade Strict on board against Monarchs, they really have to top deck into a Twin Twister. Like, that's really their last resort. And even though every single Monarch player I played against was really quickly able to put like a Vanity's Fiend or a Majesty's Fiend or a Field Spell or a combination of those out against me, it wasn't even a problem to get around them. Like, there's so many outs in this deck to things. So Masquerade Strict just locked it down and just made it game over. And finally, last two cards. 2 copies of Jirigato. When you can make your boss monsters even bigger, it pretty much guarantees you things, and so it can be really, really helpful. Dropping it out alongside a Fiendish Rhino Warrior can be absolutely amazing. Plus, it gives you that extra 1,000 points, and that's always fun. So, anyway, that's the deck profile. Hope you guys liked it. Please remember to like and comment and subscribe. Please hit that like button to let me know what you guys thought, or leave a comment. I really like hearing from people. It's really helpful to me. If you have ideas for how to improve this deck, or if there's a deck that you'd like to see me profile, then let me know, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.